Hello and welcome everybody. I just want to say to our distinguished guests in their beautiful red coats, hello everybody, family, friends, those present and online. My name is Dr. Marla Coonan. I'm the Executive for Strategy and Stakeholder Management here at the Vinci Institute, and I'm definitely very excited to be the Program Director here this evening in this very intimate doctoral ceremony that we have tonight, your graduation of 2021. Before we welcome our guests outside, which is our academic procession, I first just want to raise a couple of things. You will see, obviously, the venue is quite small due to COVID protocols, etc. So the professional camera people are sitting here right in the front. So you're welcome to use your cell phones to video, etc. But please could we ask that you don't use flash photography because it interferes with the lights. And then also, the proceeding is about an hour before we go outside to the President's cocktails outside. So if I could please ask that you don't get up during the proceedings unless it is really urgent, because as you know, passing each other, etc., is a bit problematic. And then if I could ask that cell phones are turned onto silent, and you are welcome to see all your family that have joined online. There is a television screen both at the back in the front. So basically, they will see the stage in front, and they will see me standing here, and they will see the back of your heads. So it would be the equivalent of them sitting in the audience and watching with you this evening. And if we project anything on the screens, they see it reflected on their side as well. So don't worry about that. And so we welcome each and every one of you here today. And I ask you to please rise for the procession and remain standing until the procession is seated. Prior to us beginning, I would like to please call on the chairperson of the Davincians Institute Senate, Dr. Franzel de Ploy-Cilliers, to please formally open this procession and proceedings this evening.
By the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Senate of the Vinci Institute, I hereby declare this congregation a legal gathering for the Vinci Institute for Technology Management. Thank you.
So I will start off by saying to everybody, greetings, Groete, Lochani, Molo, Sawubona, Dumela, Avuksheni, and welcome to this momentous occasion, the 2021 Davinci Doctoral Graduation. The Commissioner of SARS, the Honourable President of the Davinci Institute, Professor Edward Kisveta, our renowned laureate in absentia, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman, our guest speaker, Professor Masocha, the CEO of the Davinci Institute, Professor Ben Anderson, Senate and Council members, distinguished guests from industry, the community, faculty, family and friends, both present and nowadays online, and of course our most notable guests, our remarkable 2021 doctoral graduates seated here today, all protocol observed. I just wanted to highlight that the event is currently live streaming to YouTube and will be available afterwards as well. And although we are taking pictures and videos, we do encourage each and every one of you to share them with us, to tag us in your posts so that we can share alongside you and your family's celebrations. So before we start the exciting evening and event, I just wanted to go through a few things To my left here is Professor Harbia Klopper, who is the Executive Dean for Institutional Partnerships and Research at the Davincian Institute. Next to him is Dr. Franzel de Ploy-Cilliers, the Chair of the Davincian Institute Senate, who will be macing our students this evening. Next to her is Sachaba Motsiloa, who is our Chair of the Davincian Institute Council. And next to him is Ms. Louise Fuller, who is the Registrar of the Institute. So with all these members having both Senate and Council present here today, as Dr. de Ploy-Cilliers has said, this is a lawful gathering of our Institute, and indeed a very exciting time for you and your family. So cheer along, get as excited as you want, and as you go along, just enjoy the moment. So you will see that this year our theme is the Da Vinci Galaxy. And although I will speak to it in my closing, you will see the images there as well as in your graduation program. You can see my constellation of the remarkable cow twinkling at you on the TV screens. But I want to welcome each and every one of you, our shining Da Vinci stars that are sitting here today, having walked a very arduous journey, but one that you should indeed be proud of as you stand before us today as doctoral candidates and soon to receive your titles. But with this title certainly comes a huge amount of responsibility. As we say at Da Vinci, one of the most important things for us is the growing of agile, aligned, and engaged leaders who truly make a difference to society. So I hope today, as you don your title and you stand up here today, you really take this message out there and you use that research and that knowledge that you are adding to society to truly make a meaningful difference and to really hold dear that concept of Ubuntu, of I am because we are, that you gain the success for yourself, you enjoy the success with you and your family, but you take it out into the community and you make a difference to everybody out there so that we can indeed make the world a better place through the knowledge that we choose to gain. And I think from that perspective, I just want to welcome a little piece of the galaxy, which is to say, when you look up at the night sky, you may find yourself wondering what is beyond. For thousands of years, people have studied the stars and the galaxy to understand everything from agriculture to building cities to navigating the oceans, and even for some people finding their match made in heaven, so to speak. But despite all the advancements that we've made in technology and in science, there's still so much that we don't understand about the sky that is above us. And we still have so many questions about the galaxy, some that we may never get answers to. And I want to say tonight that at Da Vinci and in our galaxy, we say that that is absolutely okay, because it keeps each and every one of us exploring and stretching our mind beyond just the 9 dots of the Da Vinci constellation, beyond what the galaxy may hold for each and every one of us, beyond what is known, because at Da Vinci we celebrate the unknown. But having a sense of wonder about what is in that galaxy is also good, because any human being should always keep that little bit of wonder within them. And we really hope that through your doctoral studies, you have gained the direction that you need, the possibility that you dream of for everything that you want, and that you've come to understand how boundless knowledge actually is. This tiny drop of knowledge that you have added to that massive body out there, how much opportunity there is in the world to continue to explore every single strand of it. And as you stand before the congregation today, I hope that you will take a moment to be really proud of yourself, of this remarkable journey that you have walked to contribute new knowledge to the body of work in the field of managerial and business leadership. And I hope as you wear those hats on your head, they become crowns of responsibility to each and every one of you, for knowledge certainly is power, and you have that power to really change the world. So now it is indeed my pleasure to call upon a doctorandus who holds his own constellation in the Da Vinci Institute galaxy. And in fact, he holds a couple of our constellations, and that is the CEO of the Da Vinci Institute, Professor Ben Anderson. Ben will be introducing our community guests this evening, and he will be introducing some of our to the PhDs and the families. And I really look forward to each and every one of you hearing your name mentioned and hearing your family's name mentioned and enjoying every moment. Prof. Anderson is an ecosystemic thinker who really takes the Da Vinci principles and practices in everything that he does. If any of you try to have a debate with Ben, you will know that he takes the Da Vinci TIPS managerial leadership framework very seriously, and I can see each of you chuckling, and that truly makes me happy because it shows me how you have stretched your minds beyond what you started at Da Vinci. When you started here and Prof. Anderson said to you, you are going to stretch beyond those 9 dots and we are going to take you beyond that. And the only reason each and every one of you are here today is because you did just that. So without further ado, I introduce to you Professor Ben Anderson, the CEO of the Da Vinci Institute.
Thank you very much, Marla, and thanks for the opportunity. There's something very special when we get to a graduation, and I think often we forget all the people in the system that have contributed in making it possible for us to be here. So in a very small way, we would like to acknowledge some of the people at least who made it possible for you to journey as you dreamt about in becoming a PhD graduate and being successful in doing so. And the first student is Philemon Chitagu, and I particularly want to welcome his guest, Chietza Chitagu. And I hope that you will enjoy the time being with Philemon tonight. For Kumela William Malapa, his guest is Ndihua Malapo, as well as Fulufelu Malapu. I hope that you guys will enjoy being with him tonight. For Maharong Regina Masete, Regina, I say welcome to Malachori Masete as well as Benny Masete. Now, I must admit, Regina and I have got a special relationship because she was my student. So I'm very glad that you are here today and with your family and also the other family members at home. For Shannon Lucia Nell, I welcome Audrey Koch as well as Bronwyn Hummel. And I hope that your colleagues will enjoy the time with her and also the journey that you've had with Shannon being here. For Mashlora Shalboy Sedutla, I also welcome Audrey Koch and Philippine Tuhema. And I may have the pronunciation wrong, but welcome to those two colleagues also on behalf of Mashlora. For Duart Darangike, I welcome Christine Taranhike and Smart Zongolobo. I hope that you guys also enjoyed supporting Duart throughout this journey and that you will celebrate equally in the success of the doctorandus. So with those few words, I want to say welcome. And I also hope that this will be some reward for you in seeing these individuals growing, hopefully in stature, hopefully opening up their minds to see a greater world, and hopefully appreciating the fact that they may even now know less than what they did before, simply because, as I often say, you've been aware of how little you really know. But welcome and welcome in being with them tonight. Thank you, Marla.
When we select a guest speaker to speak at graduations, we really try to find a speaker who aligns with the purpose and the dream of the Institute, but also someone who could impart knowledge to each and every one of our graduates. And tonight's speaker is a man who certainly does that. He's someone who speaks about African centricity in a way that he lives by those principles. Professor Mogomo Alpheus Masocha joins us this evening. He is an alumnus of the University of the Free State. From the moment he completed his own doctoral studies, he has been committed in every single way towards African orality and about indigenous knowledge, which is so critical. If I can just give you a couple of his attributes that have done so. First of all, his doctoral research was entitled, and it really is a mouthful, so bear with me, Dimensions of Oracle Speech in the Near Eastern, Mediterranean, and African Contexts, a Contribution Towards African Orality. His knowledge research, and in particular the indigenous knowledge systems, were sharpened by a number of work experiences that he's held at very senior management levels. For example, he has held a position at the South African National Research Foundation's Indigenous Knowledge Systems and Education Research Portfolio and research manager at the Indigenous Knowledge Systems, having headed the Historical Sciences School at the University of the North, founded the African Renaissance Center at the University of the North, directed the research department of the Commission for the Promotion and Protection of Religious, Linguistic, Cultural Rights of Communities, or the CRL Rights Commission. He once acted as the academic journal editor at the Development Bank of Southern Africa. The supervisor of multiple postgraduate students, has externaled multiple students. Professor Masoga is also extremely widely published in multiple peer-reviewed journals. He has presented at multiple conferences, and he has been the research professor in the School of Human and Social Sciences at both the universities of Venda and Limpopo, and is now the Dean of Arts Faculty at the University of Zululand. The part for me about Professor Masoga that I respect most is his ability to truly understand the student journey and to really want to be part of the knowledge production that comes from doctoral students. He holds dear the purpose and the position that African knowledge should be transcended. And that is something I think we all agree is desperately needed within our education system. And so tonight it is indeed an honor to welcome Professor Masoga to be our guest speaker this evening. Thank you, Prof.
Good evening. I battled a little bit because from the experience of public universities, we are used to terminologies such as Vice Chancellor. And so as I was preparing to my address, I battled to say, well, it had the President and the CEO, and I'm correct. I'm acknowledging also the executive and the academic staff members of the Institute, distinguished guests, parents, spouses, and partners of the graduates, family members, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all. It is a great honor and privilege for me to be delivering this graduation address. I therefore deeply thank the management of the Davincians Institute for entrusting me with this great task. Dear doctoral graduates, you do not need me to tell you that graduations are a public demonstration that you have indeed satisfied the requirements of your various qualifications. I also share with you regarding this moment as that which is fitting for singing and dancing for all of you, because you have toiled for the achievement that we are here celebrating with you tonight. Perhaps what I can say, foreshadowing more of what I will say later in this address, is that in graduating, you are in fact setting yourself apart as those who will bring about meaningful and significant changes in troubled landscapes of our society. And therefore, I've entitled this address, Graduating for a PhD in Africa, the singing and dancing and the beginning of the facing of burdens. But perhaps let me burden you with the reality that we are faced with. Let us take stock of the problems that our country and Africa are faced with. To start with, Africa is riddled with many problems, socio-economic and political problems, and with the advent of COVID-19, which has since presented us with new challenges, the problems that Africa is facing have acquired an extra edge, thereby making them more severe in their wounding of our communities. These problems that have always seemed to prevail as a constant companions of our national and continental transformation, have acquired an alarming intensity with the arrival of the novel coronavirus by posing more challenges and irrelevance of the models put forth to alleviate the sufferings of people. They greatly affect the lives of our people, such that there is fear and misery on everyone's face. Alongside the new challenge of not being able to breathe freely because of the invisible enemy, the coronavirus contagion, our people are still in the deep want of water, soap, and a morsel, and security. Many of our people in this country still beg for basic services such as proper sanitation and infrastructure, such as electricity. In fact, a most recent government analysis revealed that 28% to 30% of poor households lack access to clean and proper sanitation services. Many parts of the Eastern Cape, for instance, serve as painful examples. The education of our people is also under threat. It is still lacking in crucial infrastructure. There are still many villages that do not know the gates of a library. There are still many schools in the countryside of our South Africa where school children still use the pit toilets. We've read and heard horror stories of this, of our children falling into pit latrines. There are still school children who do not have proper school uniform and the necessary stationery that make learning effective. Could this be construed as a form of injustice? Chew on that question for a while, for it is worth wondering at. There are still many schools, especially those in the rural areas, with no adequate textbooks, study materials, with no science labs, where learners can learn their rudimentary skills of using science kits or just a mere glass beaker or a Bunsen burner. Many of our first-year students, where I am, reveal to us that where they come from, there is a dire need for computer labs and computer literary programs. So to equip them with basic skills and knowledge to be relevant in the new technological dispensation of teaching and learning in which we now operate. But it seems, dear graduates, that there are no solutions to these problems of inadequacy, safe and infrastructure at the grassroots level. The rural villages to which many of us owe our being. It is disheartening for me that while on the other side of the world, certain people are planning their moon journeys and travels to distant planets, here at home in Africa, there are still many roads in the hinterlands of our nations that choke our people with dust. Many people still walk impatient and tiring distances to access health care facilities. HIV and AIDS is still devastating the lives of our people. It is still troubling our healthcare system with many questions and constant insufficiencies. And it is mainly the poor suffer the hammer blows of this plight. Inequality is still alive. It seems our democracy seems to be under attack, with corruption spreading its stubborn tentacles in many of our state institutions, including the police force. As if this was not enough, the grandfather problem is poverty. Poverty is still a stubborn socio-economic tumor. Our people still suffer on a lot less on a daily basis. The bread bin is empty most of the time. Even the cockroaches are emaciated. If I spoke a red language, I would share with you that they are cursing in the kitchens, in the houses of the poor. I think what I'm trying to say is that poverty is proving to be a constant great depression in the lives of our people. People in the rural areas, in the informal settlements, and the townships still have less or nothing in their plates. Though there are models and commitments dedicated by the government to alleviate the poverty levels in our communities, the reality is that more efficient models are needed still. COVID-19 is partially to blame. Now, coupled with poverty, the feeding is unemployment, which is one of the great social burdens of the state, our communities, and especially the youth. And for what is worse, graduates. Some graduates and unemployed youth are reported to be suffering from the elusive mental grip of depression. This year only, the unemployment rate in South Africa rose from 30.8% to 32.5%. Crime is still running rampant and amok, ever rising at an alarming rate all across the country. Gender-based violence and the raping and killing of infants leave many of us wordless. Every day since the advent of COVID-19, there have been horrific images of gruesome murders of men and women and little children. Women and children are still chanting there, I quote, "Am I next?" question. That protest the brutality in which those of our gender are killed. The abuse of merciless drugs, such as the notorious nerve-wracking Nyaupe, litter our streets and roads with our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters, who are symbols that project the depth of the hopelessness that stalk the lives of our people. The prevalence of alcoholism is alarming. One might even make the claim that there seems to be present in society the symptoms of anarchy, lurking on the edges of our beautiful country. In South Africa, these problems instill fear of the future in many, given the crippling challenges posed by the unending socio-economic terrors that to rule the streets of our minds, corruption and the near-broken gavel of the justice system, the failures in our governments, physical and cyberbullying, which are now the order of the day. Our nations seem to be paralyzed with mistakes, failures, paradoxes, and contradictions in its song of transformation that dates back to the euphoria of 1994. Now I come to you, graduates. Graduating for a doctoral degree in Africa is greatly different from graduating outside Africa. Because of the problems, inadequacies, deficiencies that I've presented before, and ultimately the need for solutions to these problems. This then speaks to the reality that your responsibility as a doctoral graduate is all about. The problems are before you now, graduates, and you do not need me to tell you that behind every mountain that you see in the way of building our nations and our coming and into being, there are many mountains to climb. African greatness is waiting for your touch and push. Should I tell you that in graduating for a doctoral degree, you have in fact broadened your shoulders upon which others must now climb to see the future. For that is the ennobling burden of graduating for such a prestigious qualification. And yes, you have set yourself apart among those who we regard as think tanks for brewing the finding of relevant solutions for the problems in our communities faced by Mother Africa. Perhaps it could again be said in your case that graduating for a doctoral degree is in fact a stepping into the sphere of the great thinkers and change makers of our society. It is a pledge to join the army of academic, intellectual, and professional giants of our kind who have been and are still down in much needed hard work in the significant generation of African indigenous knowledge, and who are bent over in the great work of moving the negatives that stand obstacles in the developmental transformation of our societies. We are here celebrating your achievement today, grand graduates, but the realities and urgency of need for solutions for our homeland forces our rhapsody of celebration to be but a short moment. For there is so much to do to help bring change in the lives of our people. There is indeed much, I quote Ben Okri, who says, there is indeed much to do for mankind. He used mankind. You could say humankind. Yes, the time for doctoring new strides of insight and revelation in the corpus of knowledge in your respective fields begins with your graduating for your doctoral qualifications today. The time of contributing to the pragmatic and practical solutions begins here. Perhaps that is too much burden of the celebrants for today. Now we know all too well that your achievement has not come easy. It involved having to burn the midnight oil. The fact that you are here today, we all know too well that you worked hard and persevered the climbing of the tiresome hills and heaps of books and many other readings and writings. Armed with the knowledge, skills, professional aptitude, and attitude gained here, many of our graduates have gone to occupy important and prestigious positions in our country and beyond. And so there comes a time when finally your hard work and suffering endured during your period of study must bear fruit for you and the whole humanity. The time has come, your turn has come round now to give us the gift of genius and knowledge. We know that you did not achieve all this by yourself. This moment of celebration would not have been possible and momentous and blessed without the support of your loved ones, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers and sisters. There are no words, therefore, to express our collective awe and gratitude to them for having believed in you, for having carried you in their prayers and blessings, so that today you can stand here tall and meritorious. We doff our proverbial hats to them. And it is not lost to us. And even as we graduate, we must remember our history of struggle, which is a constant lesson to all of us. We cannot walk through life with a sense of entitlement. We know that there are many out there who could not make it through no fault of their own. Social and economic circumstances made it impossible for them to advance. We are thus bound by historic duty to expand the opportunities and possibilities that we have had to those who are less privileged. You are tempered to do your part, to give the world your heart. Be a pathfinder, a guide, a seer, a mover, a changer, till the set tangents and angles at which our society stands today. May you discover that there is far greater joy in giving than receiving. Someone said somewhere, and I want to quote, "No one can hand us the destiny that we want," close quote. In his recent book, recently published, Ben Ogri writes, and the book is A Fire in My Head, Poems from the Dawn. And I quote him, "Mandela ought to be a sign to us that we cannot be kept down, that we are self-liberating. And Obama ought to be a sign to us that there is no destiny in color, that there is only destiny in our will, our dreams, and our storms. Our no's can unleash, and the wonder us yeses can create. But we have to do the work ourselves to change the structures so we can be free. Freedom is not color. Freedom is thought, an attitude, a power of spirit, a constant self-definition. Today is a moment to steal a view of the glorious celebratory vista that surrounds you, and to look back at the distance you have traveled, and yet remembering that your journey has not ended. For if anything, it has only been a rigorous preparatory phase which is in closing here today. And then a new great journey begins. This way, graduates, we celebrate you, and may there be the multiplication of all the good that you will do from here on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Masocha. I love the part where you spoke about the fact about the broadening of the shoulders, because I think that really is what I was speaking about earlier, about saying that it is our responsibility when we get these type of awards in our lives to really give back. And I want to say that the reason that the Da Vinci Institute doctorates all have that aspect you all had to defend in your oral defenses about the return on investment of what your research contributed. You all know that you could not only speak about one aspect, you had to speak about the social implication, the economic implication, and I see you all nodding your heads because it's not an easy part of the process where you have to back reflect on what you've given and you have to say, how do I contribute to Mother Africa and the world in terms of returning on the investment that has been made in this particular study. So I hope as you go out into the world, you will take Prof. Masocha's challenge to you and you will remember the return on investment of your own research. And in every single project that you endeavor to do, you will never forget the return on investment that you should always keep in mind for every single contribution that you make to society, just as you have with all the work that you continue to do, Prof. Masocha. Thank you very much for gracing us with your presence this evening and your words of wisdom. It is now the most exciting part of the evening where we get to award the qualifications. I just want to point out a few facts because once our Chair of Senate has, I've asked her to confer the qualifications on you. I cannot disturb the process during that time. And so just a couple of things due to COVID-19 protocols, as well as some of our students being remote. And because of travel restrictions, we do have 2 doctoral candidates that are graduating via Zoom. So we will still acknowledge their qualification so that it is acknowledged here this evening and therefore they are graduating. As a note, everyone that appears in a doctoral graduation program or any graduation program, that is acknowledgement that they have graduated, whether in absentia or present here today. So that is just one little aspect. The other thing is I am not wearing a mask so that I can speak, but each of you when you come up will be wearing your masks. But when you take your photos, no one on stage will take theirs off and you will have your back to them. So for those of you that do want your photo, you are able to just take your mask off for your photo so that you can have a photograph, but you are welcome to keep it on as well. That is entirely up to you to choose. I will sanitize between each student so that when you come up to me, I have sanitized, but you will also not be coming directly to me, so don't worry about that. And then it gives me great pleasure to be able to start the process. How our doctoral graduations work is that our students prepared a little video where they gave a little insight into their study. So I will start off by reading the abstract of the doctoral candidates. I will then ask the videography team to play it. All your family members that are watching online will see the exact replica of what we see here on their screens at home. And then you will walk across the stage and you will be amazed by our Chair of Senate, and then you will go on to our registrar where you will be capped. No one will be shaking hands, and your actual certificates will be given to you as you leave the stage so that we don't exchange hands as well due to COVID-19 protocols. So without further ado, I would like to please ask the Chair of the Da Vinci Institute Senate to please stand so that I can request you to confer. Chairperson, I request to you to confer the qualification Doctor of Philosophy in Management of Technology and Innovation on the doctoral candidates that I will be presenting to you today. Thank you. Right, so now it becomes time for us to really begin the exciting events. Our first candidate will be graduating from Nigeria. He is in Nigeria, and so we see you there. I'm just checking that he's on the screen. And I would like to introduce to you the doctoral candidate, Yusuf Adidolopo Adiojo. His thesis title is Achieving Inclusive Economic Development in Nigeria Through Redefining Indigenous Finance in Light of Modernity. His abstract reads, this innovative research which travels along the Eastern research path of renewal of the unconventional integral research framework has now joined the vibrant conversation of how best to migrate the financially excluded, which operate in the informal economy, into the formal financial space, with the aim to increase socio-economic development in Nigeria. To address this, the researcher asked a searching question: why does the informal sector or rural population not bank with the formal financial sectors or banks? To find an answer to the question, this research to socio-economic innovation journeys back to pre-colonial Nigeria to understand the indigenous financial systems that were employed during that time. Here it was deciphered that one of the reasons the informal sector or rural dwellers do not bank with the formal financial sector is the lack of in-depth understanding between both parties, a power relations tussle and transcultural, transdisciplinary, transpersonal, and transformational imbalance. To offset these imbalances, this innovative socioeconomic research believes that the entire foundation of Nigeria's banking and finance sector must be transformed to speak to the concrete experience of the retail, micro, small, and medium enterprises, or the MSME, informal sector which it seeks to serve. For this, the study applied the narrative method to clarify the origination of the research, thereby leading to the research questions, objectives, and hypotheses. Hermeneutics was used as the research methodology, which is the foundation of this thesis and conventionally of the prior literature review. This was preceded by critical theory as the research critique method, also termed methodology and methods for investigation and analysis. The research process culminated in the cooperative inquiry process as the research findings and contribution to the Owodwe Ota community in Ogun State in Western Nigeria. The outcome of this integral research journey was the co-creation of an integral Isusu-led finance model, which was initiated via the Isusu-led Finance Cooperative, a traditional rotating savings and credit association for the traders and artisans of rural Owodota community. Financial inclusion is more than migrating the financial activities in the informal sector to the formal financial space. It is also to blend the strength and the structures of the formal financial sector with the informal financial systems that conveniently speak to the concrete experience of the informal sector by redefining familiar indigenous financial systems such as the Isusu rotational savings and loan system in light of modern structures. This is both parties meeting on a middle ground. This research was supervised by Professor R. Lessem and co-supervised by Professor A. Schiffer. I introduce to you the recording of Yusuf Adeojo.
For me, to be a Davincian is an ideology that is interconnected in a way of living that informs harmonious living of myself as a person and my society. My research to innovation journey means a lot to me because it has opened my mind and my eyes to a different spectrum of how research can be done. My research was on defining the indigenous finance in light of the modern ways of doing things by leveraging on the Isusu system of finance. But what that has done for me, and taking a note as now that I see myself as a Davincian, is that it has created an ideology, an interconnected way of living. As a Davincian, I believe we all live by the universal truth encoded in the Ubuntu way of life. This research to innovation journey has has find, or better put, recreated in me a different way of looking at research. And through this journey, I've been able to create a system that is indigenous and central to Africa, and a solution to the Western financial troubling paradigm that we found ourselves. We've been able to empower the neglected majority, and we've been able to come up with a financial model, a financial system that can empower the neglected majority within Nigeria. Through this research, I worked very closely with my colleagues in CISA, Center for Integral Social and Economic Research, and we built on previous work of different members of the CISA team to get to this final work, and it's been quite a journey.
I ask the procession in front to please stand, as I see Dr. Adeojo is on there for us, so if you could please stand just to congratulate him. And I would like to congratulate now Dr. Yusuf Adeojo on your wonderful thesis and contribution to society. Thank you very much. Dr. Adeojo, I'm not sure if you can respond. I see your signal is a little bit bad there in Nigeria at the moment, but if you can, you're welcome to say hello to everybody here as we congratulate you from the Davincian Institute this evening. We can see you on our screens, but I'm not sure if you can hear us. If we can hear you. If you can just speak, then we will be able to see.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much for this award. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but I'm glad I'm here.
Your signal's a little bit bad, so we will say
Thank you.
congratulations.
I'd like to thank my family, the professors, my colleagues. Thank you very much, and definitely my wife. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we are indeed sad you couldn't join us, but glad you can join us virtually and feel part of your class of 2021. Our next candidate also graduates in absentia, and that is Anthony David Bradley, who is in the United Kingdom at the moment. And his thesis title is Towards an Integral Arts Communiversity, Innovation within the Cultural Economy Nexus of the Liverpool City Region, using the biblical quaternity archetype model towards an integral arts communiversity, innovation within the cultural economy nexus of the Liverpool City Region. Apologies, there was a repetition there. Your abstract reads, the purpose of this thesis is to provide the intellectual and academic underpinning to the connected pair of social innovations identified here as means of addressing some of the imbalances faced amongst the social economy and wider community of the city of Liverpool in the United Kingdom. The current thesis follows a journey inspired by the integral four worlds gene dynamic model to indicate the ways in which biblical analysis, social theory, and the integral genealogy can be brought together to address imbalances affecting young professionals, women, and creatives in the arts and socio-economies in Liverpool. The thesis adopts the broad approach of the standard integral journey, mapping the path to social innovation with the 4 C's of calling, context, co-creation, and contribution, along what is known within the integral model as the Eastern Path of Renewal. The initial main part of this thesis presents first the philosophical research ontology of the thesis, second, the pattern of the researcher's personal vocation to this work of social innovation, and third, the distinctive methodological approach undertaken. Hereafter, it presents a 16-step Celtic journey as a woven cord of the 4 worlds in one life, which is used as a model throughout for developing an understanding of biblical critical theory and the analytical tenets which proceed from it. These provide the backdrop to the third part of the opening section on call, where the 4 methodological approaches adopted in the integral research are outlined. relating to the 4 C's of autoethnography, historiography, biblical critical theory, and social innovation via artistic generation or generation. The second main part of the thesis on external context examines the interpenetration of culture and economy in Liverpool from the late 17th century to the post-capital of culture 2008 period. The theme that emerges from adopting the approach of examining Liverpool's economic history within the perspective of the cultural ties that were woven throughout is that this port city has evolved a culture economy nexus wherein at each economic stage artistic creativity has been instrumental in the development of the city's self-understanding. The third part of the thesis engages in some examination of the deep roots of the integral model in the Judeo-Christian scriptures, the Bible. Following from this, the study shows that it is possible to use the gospel biblical material in its fourfold form as the basis for deriving analytical tenets using what is termed as the biblical quaternity archetype, or BQA. The final part of the thesis covers the application of the tenets from the BQA connected to those of the integral development care process. These pairs of tenets, which are woven together as another Celtic chord, some more closely connected than others, are used to demonstrate the ways in which a process of integral development can be analyzed and progressed through articulating a research to social innovation process. In particular, the social innovations which serve to partially address some of the imbalances identified are described, commented upon, and analyzed through the lens of the tenets deriving from PAIR and the BQA. The study confirmed that social innovation also has the purpose of significantly regenerating one of the main neighborhoods on the edge of the city center through a potential multi-million-pound process of redevelopment with a communiversity and its research academy in social economics termed RAISE, and it's at its heart. As such, the thesis concludes that by pointing to ways in which the 16-step woven chord model can be used via the BQA tenets to progress through a recursive gene phase towards a further embodied integral development. The research was supervised by Professor R. Lessem and co-supervised by Professor A. Schiffer. I'm sure you can agree, a rather complex study, and we welcome you and your video before we greet you, Anthony Bradley, and we confer your qualification.
I'm Reverend Dr. Tony Bradley, and I'm a Brit, as you can hear from my accent. I live in the English Lake District in England and teach in the business school of Liverpool Hope University. It was a great experience to do my doctorate with the Vinci Institute in Johannesburg. I only actually visited you a couple of times, but I was under the supervision of the great Professor Ronnie Lessem and also Professor Alexander Schiffer, which is why I did my doctorate at Da Vinci. I guess the thing that was most significant for me about being at Da Vinci was your remarkable understanding of the breadth of what it means to be involved in a technological development in the beginning of the 21st century. And I learned a huge amount at Da Vinci about technology, about technological innovation, and about how to link together the various aspects. We call it the integral model, how to link together the various aspects of our lives with our communities, with our calling, with our culture and context, to make contributions and to co-create something. And one of the things that I think is most important about the way in which Da Vinci has an offering to the world of higher education, which is something that we try to do in Liverpool Hope Business School as well, is to move from the formal idea of a Mode 1 university, which is a sort of elite scientific establishment which sort of stands in a rather patriarchal way above society, to a Mode 2 model where we're co-creating knowledge with people within communities, within our localities, amongst wider networks. And Da Vinci really stands for that. We seek to stand for that. And so through my doctorate, one of the things that we were looking at was the development of the idea of a communiversity. That is to say, breaking down the barrier between the university and the community and letting a sort of permeable membrane operate so that the community impacts the university impacts the community, and over time we start to work together. And in the period, it's about 2 years now since I submitted my doctorate. In that 2 years, we've been really moving on at Hope Business School in developing our communiversity models in all sorts of different ways, particularly in the relation to business sustainability. So I'm always be indebted to Davinci Institute for the doctoral program. I will always be grateful for the Davinci experience in being able to move forward with the development of a communiversity.
Thank you so much, and I ask you to, the procession to please stand. We see you on our screens now, Anthony, and I would like to congratulate Dr. Anthony Bradley. Congratulations. You are unmuted if you would like to say anything. I should say Dr. Anthony David Bradley now.
Well, thanks so much, Marla. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Speaking to you from the UK. It's a wonderful event you're organising and running there. And it really does move my heart to be with all of you in Africa. And we're struggling so much across the world at this moment. And yet, the inspiration of all these doctorates and the inspiration of the Davinci Institute in bridging between academic knowledge and really making a difference in our world that so much needs all the inspiration that you're bringing. Well, it really is heartwarming. So it's wonderful to be with you. Thank you very much for allowing me to join you at a distance. And, I do wish all the very best and all my prayers to you and to all your colleagues there at Davinci. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bradley, and we congratulate and celebrate with you tonight. And now for our first student who will be joining us up here, and that is Philemon Chitagu. You can stand on this side over here. His thesis is titled Transformative Leadership Through Bonding Culture, incorporates a case study of Schweppes Holding Africa Limited. The abstract reads, the study is based on concerns regarding the inadequacies of dated theories about transforming organizational governance. It has been observed that at Schweppes company, notable cultures such as commitment, employee engagement, total quality management, amongst others, are proving inadequate in efforts to improve employee loyalty and overall company productivity. Research into the African way of bringing up children shows that leadership models and cultures that are based on the African concept of living together, or as we've spoken tonight about Ubuntu, ingrained in African socialism, may help to transform the leadership spectrum for the benefit of the organizations and their communities. The study is based on the premise that embracing bonding culture may help to transform organizational leadership for the better. The qualitative case study was adopted, taking Schweppes company as the case. The integral research approach was adopted, drawing mainly from the southern and eastern paths. As a result, data was collected from cooperative inquiry and the participative research approach, also called the PAR or PAR, as departmental managers were the co-researchers who engaged in PAR with employees under their span of control. The results show that Schweppes has not yet fully embraced the bonding culture. However, significant improvements in the company's performance has been observed following the adoption of cultural models linked with African communalism. It has been established from the research that bonding culture may help to overcome the shortcomings of prior cultural models, which mostly align to Western environments with less relevance here in African countries. A conceptual model has been developed by our doctoral candidate, inspired by the eland group of animals. Hence, the model has been called the Mohofu Bonding Culture Model, or MBCM. Adoption of the MBCM could increase the chances of creating a bond between the organization and employees, which may improve both their commitment and loyalty to their company. And Dr. P. Muchinaripi was the supervisor of the study. We congratulate you, and we will now play your recording.
Okay, let me just start with the aim. It was really to develop a model for organizational culture, which would precipitate harmony and productivity at workplaces. And in terms of the objectives, one of them was really to determine how organizations and employees can actually work together to craft missions, visions, and values for the organizations. And the other one, which was also important, was generally to understand the impact of transformational leadership on bonding culture. The first one, if I look at the angle of technology, my organization created a platform where employees could actually participate freely and without fear or favor in technological projects. And when I look at the innovation and also trying to link with my thesis, the collaboration with the community or the society has also enabled me to come up with the African principles, particularly those which are enshrined in the Ubunduism and also communalism, in order to address the African challenges using African solutions. And in terms of people, generally, the world of work is dynamic. And also the people that then join the organization are also different. For example, when we look at the current situations, we've got millennials who also have got different aspirations and who have got different hopes and different direction as well. So the way we then manage those who have been in the organization for a long time and the way we also manage the millennials should totally be different. And in terms of the systems management, it was very clear in some situations that some of the departments were not actually talking to each other. Yet, in terms of the tips, it's important that we look at the total organization as a system where individuals share information, where individuals also collaborate in order to address certain solutions. The culmination of eland or morph bonding culture, in my view, is something which is new in terms of aiding the relevant cultural theories and practices. And when I look at it from my company's perspective, it's very important that employees are eager to work in an organization where there is peace. They don't really add a lot of value if the organization is infested with chaotic environments. And perhaps, who knows, it can also be something that can be emulated by the other industries.
We congratulate Dr. Philemon Chitagu. Congratulations. I was also fortunate to be part of his oral defense, and it was really wonderful to see how everything played out and worked out. Have a smile there for the cameras. Our doctoral candidates seem to get really nervous tonight on this big occasion. It certainly is a big occasion, so congratulations. Dr. Chitagu, are you still getting used to being called that? The camera's over here. We congratulate you and your family on this remarkable achievement. It is indeed wonderful to celebrate with you tonight. Thank you very much. It is now our honor to call up the next doctoral candidate, Kumela William Malapa. The thesis title is Towards a Customer Services Framework in the Telecommunications Service Industry, a Case of South African Telecommunications Company. Globally, the abstract reads, the telecommunications sector is transforming at a faster pace due to technological advancements. Thus, service providers are expected to reconfigure their business models to address customer requirements. With a plethora of service quality delivery challenges, the study was motivated to develop a conceptual model to address the challenges. The extended gap model guided and placed this research study into the broader scholarly discourse with the aim of measuring the degree of customer satisfaction or dissatisfaction. In order to improve the reliability and credibility of findings, a mixed method approach was used by the researcher. Data was gathered from multiple sources through semi-structured interviews and hand-delivered questionnaires. Adopting a mixed method approach also helped to mitigate the weaknesses of either research approach, resulting in a triangulation of data at collection, analysis, and interpretation. The qualitative data was analyzed through the use of the NVivo 11. Quantitative data was exported to Microsoft Excel and presented in numerical format. The study established that bad service is exacerbated by poor technical skills, lack of after-sales support, long turnaround times, and poor customer relationship management. It was also established that customer handling and escalation procedures were not clearly communicated to customers. The use of obsolete technology was revealed as a major contributing factor to the poor quality of customer services. With a plethora of challenges exacerbating poor customer service, this study recommended the implementation of wireless technologies and information systems security to mitigate cyber crimes. However, the employees' technical skills deficiencies could only be addressed by providing them with technical skills training, especially on new products. The response turnaround times were not considered acceptable to customers, and therefore a proper customer complaint handling and escalation process should be developed and communicated to all customers as a way of improving the response turnaround time. A customer services framework was developed by this researcher as his major contribution of the study. Further research can be conducted to understand how the firm's internal resources and tools contribute to improving total quality management. The study was supervised by Professor Jay Chikada.
Okay, the main objective of my study was to develop a customer services framework with the intention to bridge the gap on the customer services level. So the intention was to improve the level of customer satisfaction in the telecommunication company. I'm actually focusing more on the innovative aspect of the TEPS. So I see my study going to contribute in terms of bringing or bridging the gap where there's a lack of innovative mindset. So I believe that society as a whole, future student, I mean to say, as well as management of the different companies will be able to use an innovative approach to business. My study contribution was mainly on the fact that the company will start to engage its employees and its customer effectively. There's an element of ethics that I like most because I realize that one of the things that is killing our companies, which is killing business, is to conduct business unethically. To the organization that I'm working for, I believe that my study will benefit them in terms of making the informed decision. When they take decision, then their decision will be informed by certain things that they have realized from my study. Going to the society, I do believe that they are going to start being innovative. They are going to learn a lot from customer service aspect of the things, because customer service is not applicable only to the telecommunication company. It's a huge subject. And then personally, I've gained a lot of knowledge. And then to the Da Vinci, I need to say thank you for the guidance that Davincian Institute has given to me. And then I do believe that I'm a better person today. Thank you.
We congratulate Kumela William Malapa. I can now officially call you Dr. Malapa, so a nice big smile for that one. Congratulations to you and to your family and to the contribution that you've made. I was also part of your oral defense, and I think that certainly customer service could definitely be improved with your framework, so congratulations. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our next doctoral candidate, Magorong Regina Masete. Thesis title, Client Engagement in Retail Banking, a Developing Socio-Economic Perspective. The abstract reads, all businesses strive to retain their existing clients. However, few are implementing positive strategies that are directed towards client engagement, retention, and satisfaction. Most companies tend to be organized solely for acquisition, where their publicity and sales programs are designed to find and promote their products and services only to new clients. Even if companies do have client engagement strategies, these strategies are not continuously and effectively implemented. Research has shown that it is costlier to acquire new clients than to retain your existing ones. As a result, it is more advisable to strike a dependable balance between acquisition and retention. This study is aimed at developing a client engagement framework for Absa Retail Banking, ARB, operating within a developing socio-economic context. This study emanated from the fact that ARB in South Africa seemed to have lost a significant percentage of existing clients to competitors. From the research, it appeared that the marketing emphasis of such companies, retail banking competitors, First National Bank, Standard Bank, Capitec, and Nedbank, predominantly focused on customer acquisition rather than on client engagement and retention. The main assumption of this study is that client engagement channels of the South African retail banks are not being effectively implemented. In addition, the organizations are not optimally utilizing the database of existing clients to track customer experience over time after a sale has been concluded. A qualitative approach with the use of interviews was used to gather data for the study. The target population included managers in phase 1 and internal clients in phase 2 from the ARB group. Non-probability sampling was used with the purpose of sampling technique to select a sample size. A sample of 8 managers and 28 internal clients participated in the study. The transcribed interviews were thematically analyzed by using the NVivo 11. The data was coded into common nodes, which formed the basis of the thematic constructs that emerged from the study. The findings confirmed that both customer acquisition and engagement strategies were in place within the ARB group of companies. However, client engagement appeared not to have been prioritized as much as client acquisition. This lack of attention towards client engagement was largely attributed to the ineffective implementation of the existing client engagement framework of the company. Satisfaction was found to be more significant in retaining clients as opposed to loyalty. In addition, most internal clients attributed their satisfaction to a combination of product features and after-sales services, and most internal clients stated that they would definitely continue to bank with ARB. This study will contribute to a broader and deeper understanding of client engagement, which includes the importance of utilizing resources optimally for effective client engagement and the importance of training employees on all related aspects of service delivery and client engagement. The study was supervised by Professor B. Anderson.
My aim and objective of my study was actually to critically review the current existing Absa Retail Bank strategies to ensure that are they sufficient enough to drive retention within the business, and that was it. And also to align it with the current socio-economic environment that we are operating in, to ensure business continuity. Because when I look at the 8 main themes that came out there, it clearly stipulated that as a bank, there is a gap in terms of understanding different customers, their market segmentations that they operating in. Majority of the clients are put more in a category of what we call a blanket statement. And one of the strongest theme that came out also was technology, systems, and innovations. So there needs to be a deeper understanding in terms of customer information, what we feed into the system, and understanding that could actually feed into every particular division of the bank, and that will allow cross-selling for the bank, that will allow customer understanding for the bank, that will also actually allow what we call customer retention, because there will never be a piece of the bank or a piece of a client within the bank that will not be covered from that if we have that huge understanding of what are our customers' needs within different segmentation. The main accomplishment, what I found out is the relevance of the study to the current economic challenges that we are facing. Do I call it economic? Not necessarily. The challenges that we are facing relating to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I will link it more to the innovation piece. If the bank was not proactive enough to have systems in place, for example, your app banking, your ATM banking, your online banking, your chat banking, your WhatsApp banking. If we were not technologically advanced in that manner, definitely the business would have shuttered down. But because the focus was there, as if we knew what is going to happen in the future, then at least the bank was well covered. The more we have client base that is technologically advanced, giving them the 24/7 facility to bank at their convenience, that's where I'm seeing the relevance of the study coming in. When people look at someone like a Regina, I'll use that as an example. When they look at someone like a Regina, they're living with on a daily basis. I am actually unlocking the hidden potential in certain people, because it's about looking and saying, if Regina can do this, I can. So that's the discipline that I have instilled within my society. And my main aim is not to own my PhD, to give it back to the society.
Congratulations, Macron, Regina, Masete. So I will. Hallelujah. Aha. Now you've got to say Dr. Masete. I don't think I could say much more, Dr. Masete. So we congratulate you, Dr. Regina Masete. Congratulations. It now gives me great pleasure to call on Shannon Lucia Nell. Thesis title, Capacitation of Nursing Leaders to Operationalize Care in a Private Healthcare Setting in South Africa, Meta-Insights. Her abstract reads, this research centers on the capacitation and leadership roles of nursing leaders within a private acute care hospital setting in South Africa, identified as Company A. Although the capacitation of nursing leadership is key for achieving effective performance in their roles, certain challenges and hindrances may be preventing this from happening, namely because the emotional intelligence of nursing leaders can become repressed. It may manifest as ineffective coping and suboptimal care being rendered to patients. However, nursing leaders can reach significant leadership efficacies when provided with opportunities to develop their resilience and their emotional quotient. The primary aim of this research was to derive meta-insights into the capacitation of nursing leaders to operationalize care to patients within a private healthcare setting in South Africa. A qualitative methodology and grounded theory-based research design were chosen by the researcher. The application of the inclusivity framework was the catalyst for success. Several data sources were used during this multi-part project, including focus groups, benchmark of engagement quotient, BEQTM, and emotional intelligence quotient, EQI, pre- and post-assessment results, field notes, program evaluations, interim research reports, and annual reports from Company A. Participants from 56 hospitals across 7 provinces were 532 nursing leaders, 49 nursing managers, 35 deputy nursing managers, and 448 unit managers. Student nurses also participated in a preliminary survey that was conducted by the researcher. Content analysis revealed that the South African nursing leaders from the company who participated in the facilitated intervention have an improved capability to operationalize care to patients within a private healthcare setting. In conclusion, it was determined that the factors of emotional intelligence, change resilience, and large-scale organizational change processes are highly influential for the operationalization of care by nursing leaders in a private acute healthcare setting in South Africa. Certainly a tongue twister there. Finally, the development gained at individual level impacted the ability of the entire team, which benefited the organization to spend their energy to engage in a sustainable and inclusive manner through co-created change that has been sustained over time. Her supervisor was Dr. R. Viljoen, who also joins us this evening. Congratulations.
Our main aim really was to try and find a way to support our nursing leaders in the company because we'd seen that they were really battling with a multitude of stressors that were impacting for them. Well, I think firstly as a Mode 2 university, doing the study at Davincians was a very conscious decision. And the TIPS model really aligned quite well to my approach and my thinking and complemented it significantly. So, the technology was more around the technology and the application of the things that we'd used. The innovation was really, probably in my study, was the methodology by the combining the grounded theory principles with participatory action research. And that yielded a methodological innovation. But mainly the study was around the P, or the persons or the people, and the systems, because we used systems theory and we obviously implemented the study with the nursing leaders as the people kind of component. So it worked and integrated extremely well. One of the biggest contributions that the study was able to yield was that we systemically, or within the entire organization, were able to really understand in real terms what the culture and the environment was, where we needed to do the facilitated intervention, and how to take it forward in a way that it impacted at the level at which we wanted it to impact and with the people that we wanted it to impact. One of the benefits of the program is that the social contract between society and nursing has been able to be achieved. In other words, what I'm saying is that it yielded a higher level of trust with the patients and with the loved ones of those patients. So nurses were able to actually uphold and maintain that social contract between the nurse or the nursing leader then and the public and the society at large. I think for the academic fraternity, as far as I'm aware, it's the first time that this kind of change management or transformational change really, using the inclusivity framework in the healthcare environment has been done. And I think the study yielded or showed extensive detail so that if somebody else wanted to try and look at it from a grounded theory point of view, they would have enough evidence to look at context, environment, situation. And if they wanted to replicate, they would be able to, because this is not necessarily a generalizable finding, but certainly the methodology and the structure and the processes and the role of different, myself as the researcher or in multiple roles, the role or the positioning of where literature sits, those kind of things are quite important from a literary point of view.
We congratulate Shannon, Lucia, Nell. I can now officially call you Dr. Nell as you smile for your photo. That's fine. And we also congratulate you for the contribution that you and your team have made to this country during the pandemic. I think we can all agree that the nursing staff have certainly been incredible frontline workers, and you and your team should be congratulated for that. And we really are grateful to you for that service. Thank you, Dr. Shannon, Lucia, Nell. We now call on our second last candidates, Mahlora Shalboy Sedutla. Thesis title, An Investigation into the Viability of the Establishment of a Fresh Produce Market Distribution Centre in Tshwane, Northwest Region 1. The abstract reads, the study presents the results of an investigation into the establishment of a Fresh Produce Distribution Centre, or DC, in Tshwane, Northwest Region 1. The purpose is to improve the township economy and enhance Tshwane Fresh Produce Market, or TFPM, turnover. Linked to the work-based challenges, a lack of business expansion is a problem in South African municipal markets, including TFPM. The study used mixed method design, which is the combination of both qualitative and quantitative approaches to collect and analyze data pertaining to the needs and assessment consumption survey of fresh produce. Questionnaires, in-depth interviews, and literature analysis were used to evaluate participants' assessments regarding the proposed DC and business model. Based on the locational analysis, the Shoshanguve and Mabopane nodes have the highest factor rating, which shows that there are investment opportunities on the outskirts of the city that should be considered for business expansion. In this study, a financial analysis of the TFPM was done. The assessment was linked to the proposed DC. Key metrics were calculated based on the 711 million rand capital expenditure, or CapEx, including professional fees, a 5% contingency, and the accretive free cash flow forecasted from the DC. These metrics include a project payback period of 12 years, an internal rate of return of 21%, and a positive net present value of 635 million rand using the market's weighted average cost of capital of 10.035% and a healthy loan life coverage ratio of 1.6 times. Forecasted free cash flow of 2.7 billion rand is expected to be generated over the next 12 years, which can fully amortize internal and external funding for the project capex of 711 million rand. The minimum debt service coverage ratio achieved is 13 times for equal monthly capital repayments and interest being serviced on a monthly basis. The DC's proposed 711 million rand capex will add 33,130 meters squared and increase the existing trading business by 58%. The TFPM could therefore be seen as self-sufficient and cash generative enough to fund its growth on a standalone basis. 3 DC funding options were explored, namely option 1, debt funding, option 2, internal cash funding, and option 3, convert the DC to a state-owned company. With option 1, the full 711 million rand debt could be raised from capital markets, such as commercial banks, development finance institutions, or a bond issue, and be amortized over 8 years. With option 2, the DC could be funded from the TFPM investment balance of around 563 million rand and internally generated free cash flow. With option 3, the DC could be funded by converting the TFPM to a state-owned company and raising private equity funding by selling shareholding to private investors, the public-private partnership. Based on the study findings, it's been concluded that a council approval would be required to make a decision on different funding options for the implementation of this project. The study concluded that the establishment of DC could attract value-added business opportunities that could boost job creation. Supervised by Dr. J. Dickinson and co-supervised by Dr. S. Letswalo.
The objectives of the study was to investigate, the establishment of the distribution center in the previously disadvantaged area. I think the idea is just to make contributions, especially towards the socio-economic contribution in those nodal area. Because the emerging areas, those nodes are more opportunities which I think we need to explore them as a country and as a business venture, so that we can enter and create more job opportunities in those areas. In terms of the tips, technology, innovation, people, the study integrated the technology because if you look at the fresh produce industry, the technology is very important. The e-commerce is very important. So electronic sales system is very important. And then understanding of the people, training and development of the people in order to understand what's really taking place. I think this is really very important in terms of the innovation. You look at the cold storage, the cold chain, which is more innovative. You really need to comply with the food standard, So TIPS is well integrated into the study in the sense that creating that distribution venture. So you need technology, you need innovation, you need people. People need to be trained, understand exactly what's really going on in the business. I think in terms of my accomplishment, I think it's a contribution to knowledge. One can say the important outcome is contribution to knowledge, even to the decision making. Decision maker will make use of the findings to make sure that they arrive at a better decision in order to satisfy other segments in terms of the business opportunities, investment. I think for the society, I think the feeling of the nation in terms of the phenological approach applied in the study, the feeling of the people, the expression of the people, the need of the people, where the people says they want development in those areas, they want infrastructure development in those areas. So it's really make a lot, and then coming to the industry as such, I think industry must be aware that there's a need somewhere, be able to locate the customers. I think this is very important, So expansion, business diversification is very important for the industry. I think this will help in terms of the investment and then even the increase in market turnover, especially the fresh produce industry, because if you look at the fresh produce industry, the investment value is around 84 billion, which means there's still the demand. People still demand service from the industry as such. So it's a great, and then for the academic, I think knowledge is very important because academic play an important role, as an investment in terms of knowledge. That knowledge, you keep it there for research, future research, and future development, institution, which is very important. Even the students can refer to the sources, which is very important in this, in the academic field.
We congratulate Mahlora Shalboy Sedutla. I can now officially say congratulations, Dr. Sedutla. Yes, please do shout. You are welcome to cheer. We want you to cheer along. I was also part of your oral defense, and I think the contribution to township entrepreneurship and township economies that you have proposed really is something that, Prof, I'm sure you will also agree with, is certainly towards the things you were speaking about in terms of responsibility. Sometimes they say that we save the best for last, but since I have to say everybody's special, I will say that we've saved all of you the best today, but today is our last candidate, Daud Taranike, who's going to be coming up. And the thesis is titled integral Kumusha, a case of Buhera towards self-sufficiency in Zimbabwe via Nakanomics. The abstract reads, this research sought to find solutions to the marginalization, hunger and poverty in rural areas, especially in the Buhera community in Zimbabwe. The aim of this research to innovation is to reduce or even reverse the current rural-urban migration by ensuring that rural people can generate adequate income and enhance their livelihoods in order to achieve the ultimate aim of significantly contributing to the eradication of poverty. The research used the integral approach with its gene, grounding, emergence, navigation, effecting, rhythm, together with the care and the 4 C's trajectories interwoven to come up with an integrated and robust solution. Building on the narrative method, this study used the hermeneutics methodology to unearth and establish the transcultural, transdisciplinary, transpersonal, and transformational imbalances or challenges that existed within the research context, with the aim of alleviating them. The study thereafter drew on an emancipatory feminist critique to co-create new knowledge. Finally, through deploying an intensive and extensive action research-based transformative cooperative inquiry, the integral Kumusha model evolved, leading to an innovative, locally resonant approach to economics coined Nakanomics. The research to innovation has helped to transform the Buhera community through the integral Kumusha, Vakamusha, and life in the community is far better than in urban centers where there are critical shortages of most supplies. Nakanomics at a macroeconomic level as an extrapolation of the integral Kumusha at a micro enterprise level involves building a political and economic system or a polyeconomy which is based on legacy, Naka, and integrality grounded in nature and culture, extending to both technology and economics, interwoven together. Nakanomics therefore provides an alternative to the Western neoliberal economic approach that has always been considered as universal throughout the world. Through this study, it is hoped that Nakanomics will provide an economic approach that is new and unique to Zimbabwe and to the global South. This homegrown approach will help Zimbabwe and the global South to find its place on the global political and economic arena and contribute effectively to solving socio-economic and political issues. The study was supervised by Professor R. Lessem and co-supervised by Professor A. Schiffer.
The main aim of my study was to develop a model, a socio-economic model that is anchored on the indigenous African practices, cultural practices, that will be able to help the majority of people living in the rural areas and in Zimbabwe in general to be able to be self-sufficient and to transform from a situation where they are currently poor into prosperity. You know, the TIPS framework is a powerful framework. I actually, through my research, I found this to be very, very powerful because of the way I integrated it with the integral approach. I found that the management of people was so key in that because we are now coming up with a new social innovation. We needed to come up with also how technology can be brought into this social innovation. And at the same time, how we can get people to work with nature and within their cultural perspective to develop this transformation journey together. The biggest achievement is that we have transformed the way people live and perceive themselves by creating employment in the rural communities, and making people realize that now rural communities are not places for the poor and the marginalized, and they are places where they can earn a living and in their cultural and social setting. The impact to me, when I look at it, first and foremost in the scholarly realm, is that we came up with new knowledge, new models. The integral kumusha is a novel idea. To me as an individual, it has also transformed me in the process. And it has also filtered to the community in the way now they start to see that they have a responsibility to create a social economy, a village economy, which is vibrant and that we can pass on a legacy. And also at an international level, it will be good to let you know that my wife Christina and myself are using our integral kumusha as one of the cases that is being taught at St. Gallen University in Switzerland. And we have been chosen to be working with them. So you can see the contribution to education, to the contribution at international level, and the contribution that is now bringing to the entire humanity. And above all, we have now been launched, our integral kumusha has been launched as an example of Home for Humanity international or global community.
We congratulate Dao Taranike. So we say, congratulations, Dr. Taranike. For your contribution to your country as well as to the knowledge base. Congratulations. That brings us to the end of our doctoral graduation. Before we close off the formal proceedings, just a few more things. The first part is we always have opera singers serenading our doctoral candidates, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19 protocol, we are unable to have singing in public, and so we have a recording of these operatic voices singing God Bless Africa. I'm sure you will agree, quite beautiful, even in stereo. So each year at the Davincian Institute, we produce a research report, which is the culmination of the research of the year before. So your research will be next year's research report. If you look on the screens, you will see there's a page turning of it now. We launched the research report today in honor of your graduation and the doctoral graduation. And you will notice that we have worked the theme of a constellation and the Da Vinci galaxy throughout the pages. This is the first year that the research report is fully interactive. So you will see extracts, for example, from our president, Professor Kisveta's address. And if you click on the page, it will take you to his YouTube link of where he presented, the same as Prof. Anderson. If you go to each thesis that is documented there that was supervised and you click on it, it will take you directly to open that research in the Da Vinci repository. So although this year it is not your own research, although those of you that did your master's with us, it is yours, and you will see next year you will appear just like these doctoral candidates appear in the research report. So it is available on our website at www.davinci.ac.za. If you click on the research link or the slider at the top, you will see that today. And then it also provides our TT100 Business Innovation Awards program, the research output that is intermingled with tips. So it is how industry have utilized tips. And this comes together in the non-profit organization of TT100. And so we've also given you the winners of TT100 in this. So please feel free to click on the interactive research report for 2020. So in closing, you may ask why I've selected the Da Vinci Galaxy for this year's theme. At Da Vinci, we have selected this, as you will see, the twinkling stars in the constellation, and as you would have seen in the research report, you should have noticed the triangle of tips and the kite and all those aspects. The reason is because this is a multiple approach. So first of all, a galaxy, if you think about it, holds unending potential. There is always possibility of new stars, new innovations, new finds. It is impacted by energy in so many ways. And as you will know at Da Vinci, we speak so much about energy exchange and about co-creation, and this becomes critical. I also want to remind you, it's something that Prof. Anderson always reminds us of, and that is this concept of a fire cloud. Is that correct? A fire rainbow, sorry. And the fire rainbow looks like when two clouds collide and they actually form a rainbow. It is actually not a cloud or a rainbow. So this speaks very much to the Sinovan framework at Da Vinci about the known, the unknown, and us wanting you to actually always consider the unknown. So what we find in these particular cloud formations is that I want to remind you that when it rains and you see the clouds, don't worry, because there is always a rainbow just behind that rainstorm. And that is your colors of remarkability that have been harnessed here at the Da Vinci Institute throughout your journey. The other aspect I want to remind you of is if there are times in your life where you perhaps hit darkness or you come up against a challenge of any sort, just remember that in the darkest skies, the brightest stars shine. So you are always going to be a bright and shining Da Vinci star. Moreover, if you think about it, people will say, are all your students stars? And we say yes, because every single star has a unique coordinate. Every single star has a unique position in the sky, shines differently, and that is how we see each and every one of you. We embrace your diversity. We embrace your culture. We embrace where you are from and where you are going. And we want you to form your own constellation. And we look so forward to mapping your constellation into our Da Vinci Milky Way and to always be part of the Da Vinci Galaxy, which will forever be your academic home. So I'd like to say that you should never apologize for burning too brightly or collapsing into yourselves every night, because that is how galaxies are made. And that is what Tyler Kent White has said. You are part of our Da Vinci Galaxy. Congratulations to our newest doctors in the house. Shine brightly in the night sky. and enjoy making your beautiful, bright, and unique constellations. For you are Davinci doctors, the most remarkable, agile, aligned, and engaged leaders who will and are contributing to the co-creation of sustainable societies and truly understanding the world from an ecosystemic perspective. So if I can ask you all to shout, to cheer, to do whatever, put your hands together as we welcome the following doctors into our Davinci galaxy. Dr. Adiojo, Dr. Bradley, Dr. Chitagu, Dr. Malapa, Dr. Masete, Dr. Nal, Dr. Sadutla, and Dr. Taranike. Congratulations. And to everybody online, we say hello to you all as well. As you congratulate, we can see you waving and congratulating. Okay, and I would like to also say to please ask you to rise. We are going to be doing the national anthem of South Africa, after which the academic procession will leave. And our Commissioner of SARS and President of the Davincian Institute, Professor Edward Kisveta, will join you for the President's address outside and for some delicious snacks afterwards for you and your family. We also have photographers outside of our formal photographers. You're welcome to ask for pictures along with the academic procession, or with Prof. Anderson or with Prof. Kisveta or whoever you wish to with your family. So please do enjoy your time with us. We will be broadcasting the national anthem, so we ask that you don't sing it out loud. You can sing it quietly to yourselves or sing into your masks, and I shall re-put my mask on when I leave. So thank you very much, and please rise. Before we say the national anthem, I would just like to call Dr. Deploy Saliers as the chairperson of the Senate of the Davincian Institute to dissolve the congregation, and then we will play the national anthem. Thank you.
As chairperson of Senate of the Davincian Institute, I hereby dissolve this congregation of the Davincian Institute for Technology Management. Thank you.
Lord.
So please gather round. There are servers that are serving some snacks and food. Please help yourselves and enjoy a snack. Gather in, sit down wherever you feel comfortable. There's chairs on both sides. This evening's presentation and now is really just the presentation of a small gift on behalf of the Davincian Institute. It is to celebrate along with you and your families, to have something to eat, to snack on, etc. And then to have an address from the president of our institute, Prof. Klopper, to hand over the gift, and then Professor Ben Anderson, our CEO, to close off. So to start off, indeed, our speaker is somebody who needs little introduction. I always say he has, in my view, one of the worst jobs in the country as the Commissioner of SARS, but he makes it look so easy. And I think that some of the aspects that I truly respect about Prof. Edward Kisveta is the fact that he focuses on intent, on purpose, and on focus. And I think that these are really important aspects for each of you as doctoral candidates and now as doctoral graduates, as to take what you have done and to make sure that you have the right intent, that you have the purpose that you started out your study and finished off your study with, and the focus. One of the things that I probably admire most about Edward is the fact that regardless of where he is in society, he always takes those grannies who need to receive their pension into account. He takes, Prof, you spoke earlier about the latrine toilets. He takes into consideration those students that are desperately in need of having better schools through the work that he does. And he is a man who truly teaches and practices the principles of servant leadership. It is my great honor to introduce to you the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Services and the President of the Davincian Institute, Professor Edward Kisveta, to address you tonight.
Thank you, Marla. This is certainly one of my highlights of my year, when I can come and share such a wonderful event with such special people. When I listened to Professor Masocha, I reminded myself that Africa isn't poor. Let me take my mask off. I don't have to hide from anyone. Africa is not poor. So why are Africans poor? Africa is one of the richest continents. 30% of the world's freshwater lakes are in Africa. Yet many of our crops have no irrigated lands. We have the most fertile soil, yet we import food. So what is the issue? Because Africa is not poor. So why are Africans poor? And that should be a reality that keeps every one of us awake. If it doesn't keep you awake, I want to know, where is your heart? Where is your soul? One of the contemporary challenges of our time is COVID-19. And COVID-19 did not create the fault lines that Africa is challenged with. It has simply revealed them. They've been there all the time. And it reveals it in the worst possible way, because the most vulnerable, the poorest, are always the most affected. And so I would like to say, with that as a context, your work, as we welcome you to this President's dinner and still bask in the adulation, the deserved congratulations that you have been bestowed with this evening, and the doctoral qualifications with which you have been endowed, I would like to say your work starts now. The Japanese have a concept called ikigai, which is your true purpose. That which puts a song in your heart and wakes you up in the morning despite all the odds, allows you to carry forth and to pursue that purpose. And ikigai, they explain, is when you have found the work you love and it coincides with the work you are good at, then you have found your passion. And when you take the work you are good at and it coincides with something you can get paid for, you have discovered your profession. If you take the work you love and it coincides with something the world needs, then you have found your mission. And if you coincide that which you get paid for with something which the world needs, you have found your calling, your vocation. And when you have found the coincidence of that which you love with that which the world needs, that which you are good at and that which you get paid for, you have found your ikigai, your true purpose. I read something which also is remarkable if you want to discover your true purpose. Someone once said, write down what you think it is and continue to write it down until your eyes fill up with tears, because that is the essence of who you are, and you have discovered your true purpose. And so your work starts now, and the direction I would like to give you is to start with your why. Start with your purpose. You know, I heard when I was young, and it's meant in jest, but there is an element of truth behind it. That the path, the journey of education, you start off knowing very little, and then as you, very, very little about a lot. And then as you become more along that journey, you know a little bit more about less. Until you become a specialist, you know quite a lot about very little, until you know everything about nothing. Right? Now, Albert Einstein is known to have said that education is that which you have when you have forgotten everything you've learned at school. And why did he say that? Because education is simply a means towards an end. Now, of course, you would say that there is an end in education itself, but ultimately, I have my own definition for education, and it is this: that no matter what you have learned, you are truly educated when you have developed the wisdom to use that which you have learned to the benefit of the world, to touch a life, and to transform your environment. That's what education should do. And of course, along the way, it gives you a nice job and a house and puts the kids through school. But ultimately, the true outcome of education must turn us from consumers of the world we live in to creators of this world. Enjoy the dinner, enjoy your qualifications, and I will look forward to see how you find your ikigai and leave the world a better place than what you found it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those inspirational words. I think if you all remember, since your doctorate should still be fresh, that in the TIPS managerial leadership framework, you should remember that ikigai is actually brought up, and it is something that you are supposed to know very, very well. So thank you, Prof. Kisveta, for reminding our doctoral students and our doctoral graduates now that Ikigai and your purpose is something that is really critical. And I do think that finding that spot within yourself that really makes you feel that you could change the world for the better is what will lead to sustainable, co-created societies that really will make a difference. So we do certainly look forward to seeing what each and every one of you do with your study and with your lives, and we want to stay in touch with each and every one of you. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the Executive Dean of Research and Institutional Partnerships, Professor Habia Klopper. I always say about Prof. Klopper that the thing I think he really gets so well and does so well is his ability to synergize between really understanding business-based problems and conceptualizing business ideas and actually merging them with academia, and that balance and synergy between getting students to actually understand the meta-theoretical understanding of things connected to the work-based challenges that they deal with. He is a man who's passionate about education in every way and is also an extremely passionate supervisor and has published much work with his students. He is going to be introducing our doctoral students and giving them an award on behalf of the Institute. And we also ask that you guys have a look at the photographer because we would like you to have a beautiful photo of you receiving your award. So without further ado, I introduce to you Professor Habia Klopper.
Thank you, Marla. So glad I can take this mask off. Before I start, and this is the lighter note of the program, I just also want to congratulate all the new doctoral graduands here. And you make us proud, and I also believe, and speaking to the supervisors, and two of them are here this evening, the others, due to distance and where they're located, cannot be a warm heart of congratulations. Well done. So as we were busy recording those video clips that you looked at this evening, earlier today, I was also reflecting on the journey of each of you as you stand here. And as we give you this gift this evening, I think it's maybe important to share something that the audience don't know about you. And I say don't know, because hereafter they will go to the repository on our library, they will download your thesis, read the abstract, read the study, and understand what we celebrated here this evening. But on a lighter note, there are other things that we should also think of. And, I would love to share that, and I pick it up during the orals, during the discussions today, in telephone conversations and emails earlier. I made a note of that. So on a lighter note, I would love to then call Dr. Chicago to the front. Philemon? Now, what you don't know is Philemon is very happy this evening to get his doctorate, and we understand why. But if Philemon stands on the southern point of Africa at Sea Point and he look up, he's very happy. If Philemon, you said to me, if you're standing with your feet in the water at the Vic Falls, he's extremely happy. Now, I think what we should understand, Philemon, there's a lot of things that happen. You're passionate about what you do, and you really enjoy that. And I think when you go out here this evening, you must fly the flag out, never hesitate, and always be a critical mind. And there's many interesting things that he can talk to you and share you more knowledge about. So Philemon, congratulations. Once again, well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Malapa. Camilla, you said to me you've got a predicament in your life, and that's that you're busy with your studies. Now, this evening you graduated, So I'm not sure what's your new problem that you have. But I think if I just observed in the audience and I look at Fulafelo and your wife, Ndivu, I think you're very proud this evening. And Kumela said to me, now that his doctoral is done, he's going to devote his time to what he sacrificed. And he sacrificed his family during this time. So he's going to spend more time with his family. And I know life is not always easy. It's difficult, but you're going to make it. And I think, Kumela, you've got the right spirit. And we're very proud to be here this evening and celebrate this momentous moment with you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Dr. Masete. That's your supervisor clapping for you.
He worked hard for it.
Regina, yeah, you said your supervisor worked hard, but you also worked hard. What I remember in something that you mentioned during your oral that specifically struck me was you're very proud to be here for the Masete family. Yes. Very much. And I see, if I look at your family here this evening, your son, your brother, extremely proud. And you said that you're going to take this Masete name further and make it known to everybody. And like you said in the video clip, not because you're selfish, you want to give back your doctorate. There's a lot of unhidden potential. We need to unlock that. And Regina, I think if I listen to you, ready to do that. Very proud to be here this evening. Never hold back. Always challenge and keep on being a mentor and a coach and make a difference on every day that you tackle.
Thank you.
Well done.
We're so proud, eh?
Extremely proud. I can look at your faces as I stood there and I can see that. Dr. Nell. Shannon, where can I start? Where must I stop? I think many times you've mentioned that there's a lot of nurses out there that are leading the way. I think what we must say to each other this evening, leading those nurses, we have Dr. Nell. Shannon, you have, if I talk to people very confidentially, I hear that you have a big heart filled with lots and lots of love. I'm also, in a very reliable source, we're told that this evening is obviously a huge momentum in your life, and that you need to keep back the tears and you don't cry every day. But today might be the second day, and I can see that twinkle in your eye. Well done. Go out there and be passionate. After the recording, you said to me today, you're not going to enjoy the day. You're going to go back to work because the vaccines need to be distributed. Always to the end. And I suspect when you go home this evening, you will check an email or two. Well done, Shannon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much.
Dr. Sadutla. Selboy, I think the people here don't realize you have two hearts. The one heart, you're very passionate about the fresh produce market, and I wonder why. We can read more about that. But your other heart, you're a passionate academic. Like to make a difference in the lives of people, never shying away from engaging, have a discussion and support. And I think listening to what Prof. Masoga said and what Prof. Kieswetter said this evening, you're really living up to that. So for that, we congratulate you, so keep on doing that. And then lastly, you're good at conceptualization, and I got that from a few people. Now, if you don't believe me, talk to Selbo and ask him what book is he currently reading, and you will understand what I've meant by that. Selboy, congratulations.
Thank you.
Dr. Taranike. Doubt. The pillar in your life is here this evening. So Christina said to me, she had to support you, but also you gave a lot of support. And I think together you are a very strong team. Now, what you don't know about Doubt, besides finishing his doctorate, every week on Thursdays, 3 o'clock to 3:30, he's on the radio in Zimbabwe, talking to the youth, talking to the communities, making a difference, giving back. And it didn't just start now, it started a while ago. So what we ask you to do is to keep on doing that and excel and do that to more people. It's important that you share your knowledge. And as you do the drip irrigation and watering and see how plants are growing, Christina told me that's exactly how you look at the youth of today. So we wish you luck with that. We like to be part of that journey and keep us posted. Keep on doing the good. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Klopper. I'm sure you can see what I mean by he likes to take a personal touch to each of his students and know something special about each of you. So thank you very much for that, Prof. Klopper. I can see a couple of you getting very anxious about the photos, so let me just add by saying that our photographers are here afterwards as well. So once we finish with the address, you are welcome. That's why we've stayed in our academic year. You are welcome to take photos, individual photos, etc. And then the photos that you took with Gordon Harris earlier, those are done through the formal process. But the photos that you're taking now informally is through my unit strategy and stakeholder management. So what we will do is once we've received the photos, we will personally through the postgraduate office email each of you the link, and then you can download your photos from this evening, and then you'll be able to print them at a high resolution off of those links. So please don't worry about not getting the photos or worrying about the photos. We will send them to each one of you once we've received them. Okay, so now our last speaker is a man known to many of you, and he is going to be closing off this evening, our CEO of the Davincians Institute, Prof. Ben Anderson. One of the things that I always say about Prof. Ben is that when I spoke about the Da Vinci galaxy, I would say that many of the constellations in the galaxy, he has either contributed to or is part of the constellation, but he himself is somebody who is not only the CEO of the Institute, but he has supervised multiple students over time, is an external examiner to many, and he has a very specific and keen eye on critical thinking skills and the need for the contribution of doctorates to contribute not only new knowledge, but also show a deep and meaningful critical thought process and a return on investment. I've worked at multiple higher education institutions over the years, and I've seldom seen one that focuses so much on the return on investment of every single study. And that was certainly spearheaded by you, Prof. Ben, and I think it is something that makes the Da Vinci graduates something that stand out and something completely different. So without further ado, I introduce to you our CEO to close off this very special evening, Professor Ben Anderson.
Thank you very much. So maybe I first want to share, and some of you may know this story. My PhD was a very simple endeavor. I was curious in the early 90s about the needs of working adult learners. And you may ask what makes that so unique that it, required a PhD thesis. Well, at that point in time, there were many working adults in South Africa who did not have the privilege of education. There were large numbers of people who came through a legacy of not being included and being excluded from society. So that's what I was curious about. My first endeavor with my first group of potential participants was quite problematic, to say the least, because whilst I was busy presenting this to the workers at Transnet and at one of the local hospitals in the Free State, the crowd became quite rowdy. And one guy stood up and said, well, we don't think you understand what our lives are about. And I said, well, that's okay. So I left. And about 3 weeks later, at my practice as a psychologist, the lady said, well, there's somebody knocking and they want to talk to me. And it was 3 people coming back and say they would like us to talk. And we sat together. The one lady she was a nurse at the hospital. The other guy was a manager at Transnet. And the other guy was a traffic cop. But they were all in that audience. And we sat together and we wrote the proposal to the Kellogg Foundation for my PhD research. And the research was to understand the learning needs of working adults. And tonight when I'm sitting here and I'm listening to the array of themes that came from your studies, it made me think, I wonder if you think what you're going to do with that. Because this, what you're experiencing tonight, is still part of my PhD. Because my PhD resulted in the development of the first modular-based bachelor's degree for working adults. And the business school in the Free State was built on that, and some work at First Rand and F&B was built on that, and eventually the work at Davinci was built on that. That's all part of my PhD. So my challenge to all of you are, what are we going to hear of your PhD 20 years after tonight? Because a PhD should have that impact. I don't think people got excited, to be quite honest. My wife may remember that in a weird way, I fired my supervisor in my PhD because he couldn't understand what I want to say and he wanted me to do all kind of things that I didn't agree with. Regina, I should have told you that earlier. You could have got ideas. And if I say I fired him, it's because he really didn't get it. But eventually there was a supervisor who understood and we managed to conclude the study. But the important thing, to reference back to what Marla was commenting on, is what will I see of you and your study 20 years from tonight? I want you to think about that. Because every PhD has got that possibility. To close off, just a second thought. I love Edward's reference to the Ikigai, and as Marla said, yes, at Davinci, we really embrace that notion, Edward. But that relates to another construct, which I referred also earlier to, but which I want to refer here, and that's the notion of the anamkara. And the anamkara talks to the idea that if we know who we are, we will be curious and passionate in knowing who you are. But if you don't embrace who you are, if you're not truly centered around the Ikigai, the anamkara will never happen. You will not experience that moment where you belong to someone else and to multiple people. Those moments where you connect and you interconnect. So if you are truly experiencing the Ikigai that Edward was referring to, you will experience the anamkara. You will become part of an engagement and an energy flow which you would not anticipate, which is not predetermined, but which will open up as you avail yourself to the reality around you. I've met people at places and on occasions and engaged and connected where I never anticipated it. But it's in those moments of true exposure and reflection and vulnerability that you will find someone else and experience the Anamkara. To Sushi and her team, Anthony, I think, Tulani, Prince, Opa, Renaka, thank you very much for putting up tonight's event. There's something very peaceful about it. Thanks for being peaceful around it. Thanks for looking at all the detail. To Mala, who held the program together, thanks for your insight and your understanding and your brilliant idea of the constellations. I can just, when I sit on the farm, I can really see that happening. So thanks for that. And thanks to all the other colleagues. Thanks for Harbia and for Louise and for Franzel, who make sure that the academic rigor and the quality assurance is all happening simultaneously at multiple levels. It gives me great joy and pride to be part of Da Vinci and to be here tonight and to celebrate and call all of you into our world and to be together. So with this, I want to say thank you very much. Thanks, Mala.
So it is now time left to just celebrate along with all of those that you've brought here this evening and those that joined you online have been watching this. And I want to just say in closing of what Prof. Anderson has said, whether you are standing with your feet in the Vic Falls or you're standing on a farm in the Free State, or you are sitting in your house, or you are serving a community in a rural area, please, every one of you know that when you look up at the sky, we are all looking up at the same sky. And you are forever and always part of the Da Vinci Milky Way. We want to stay engaged, connected, and in touch with you. It is really important to us not for this to be the end of your journey, but for you to come back, to supervise our students, to come back, to give guest lectures, to come back and tell us where your lives have taken you and what you have done with your PhD. And as Prof. Anderson has said, we hope we will hear from you in 20 years' time, where you are and what you are doing with your study and with all that you have done. But tonight is indeed a celebration of our superstars, our newest doctors in the house. So we say congratulations to each and every single one of you, your families that sacrificed, your supervisors that gave of their knowledge and of their time, and for every other person that you hold dear within your community. I thank Professor Kisveta for joining us this evening, Professor Klopper for presenting, and I ask that you please enjoy the eats, have your photos taken, get some drinks, and just socialize, and please travel home safely and stay safe and stay connected. Thank you very much.